Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. A snap rally has been staged in Hobart with protesters demanding the Prime Minister back down on laws to safeguard salmon farming in Macquarie Harbour. The PM will introduce legislation next week, just as the industry's reputation takes another hit.
Activists and politicians protesting en masse, making their voices loud and clear about salmon farming in Tasmanian waters.
Eating salmon is killing Tasmania!
Demanding the Albanese government reverse its decision to introduce laws to safeguard the industry from a legal challenge when federal parliament returns next week.
They're going to work with Peter Dutton under the cover of the budget to weaken Australia's environment laws.
Politicians are openly displaying the fact that they are bought by this industry.
Activists voicing concerns it could drive the endangered Maugean skate to extinction.
There is no way the skate and salmon can continue together in Macquarie Harbour.
But the Prime Minister isn't backing down, aiming to give salmon workers on the state's west coast certainty about their jobs, with a federal election imminent.
People will see the legislation next week, as we committed to introduce.
Though he's also coming under fire by the Coalition. In an open letter, the Shadow Environment Minister says the PM hasn't consulted with them or stakeholders about the laws.
I'm concerned this will just be the latest legislative failure, and the people paying the price will be the workers of the salmon industry in Tasmania.
We expect it to be carried.
It comes as the sector's reputation suffers another major blow. The RSPCA today confirming it has withdrawn its certification approval for Huon aquaculture after recent videos showed live fish being put into bins with dead ones. In response, Huon says it's extremely disappointed with the decision after a single incident of non-compliance, pledging to uphold standards of animal welfare and those of the RSPCA. Anthony Dodd, 7 Tasmania News.
Hobart's Metro bus drivers will not collect fares from tomorrow in what their union says is a bid to reduce the risk of harm to its workers. Secretary Byron Cubitt says or claims a rise in robberies and physical assaults have created a risk to its members. But Metro says while any act of violence against drivers is unacceptable, the direction is invalid and expects passengers to pay fares while boarding. The operator also reducing its services to Gagebrook and Herdsman Cove after 9 o'clock each night in the interim. The mental toll soaring power costs are having on Tasmanians has been highlighted in a parliamentary committee hearing, prompting a call from the state's peak body for social services for more to be done to help those struggling to keep up with mounting bills.
For many Tasmanians, rising energy costs are biting household budgets hard.
To get a bill that you know, like you're really stretching to try and budget and pay for, it's the worst feeling.
The Energy Matters Parliamentary Committee hearing firsthand the toll of ever-increasing power bills.
Anything that you spend is reflected back on this bill that you need to be paying.
What we heard today was the impact, not just the physical impact, but also the mental health impact that this has.
TasCos, pushing for home efficiency standards tailored to Tasmanian conditions to help reduce costs.
We're talking about things like efficient heaters, curtains, thermal measures, as well as solar rooftop measures.
We do have some matters that we need to work through with the National Construction Code so that we adapt the building code for Tasmanian conditions.
The economic regulator also admitting it's powerless in trying to keep prices as affordable as possible.
It really then falls back to the other regulators in terms of transmission costs, particularly, which is the largest component.
Yes.
Yeah, which is outside of the state's control.
Yes, that's right.
While many hope Marinus Link could hold the key to some bill relief, the project is still some time away.
We'll have a very clear understanding by mid this year in terms of financial investment decision for the 3 governments. Yeah. So Victoria, federal government and our government.
Mark Zita, 7 Tasmania News.
Early bird thieves have gone on a rampage, pinching a road roller from a construction site in the state south. The wild ride wrecking parts of the local beach, angering locals and tradies. Tonight, police are still hunting for the culprits.
Sitting idle in its rightful place now, but this road roller was far from stationary this morning. Thieves hijacking the heavy machinery just before dawn, taking it for a joyride.
It's not really on, is it? I mean, you don't get around doing things like that. It's pinching rollers. And
shocked when found out about it happening.
Carving a trail of destruction, smashing a postbox, rubbish bins and the boardwalk at Roaches Beach.
Like a scene from GTA when I woke up this morning.
The road roller was reportedly stolen from a nearby construction site on Manata Street around 4:30 this morning.
Wasn't nice to wake up to. It's not a very a nice phone call in that time of the day.
It's the act of knuckleheads, and frankly there's no tolerance for that sort of behaviour in our city.
Nearby residents say the area often experiences some midnight madness.
Quite a few hoons in this area. Recently, really late at night, 12, 1 o'clock.
And it's not the first time this particular roller has been targeted.
I recently got this roller back from having all the windows smashed out of it as well.
The incident has angered local tradies and business owners who say enough is enough. They're reporting a rise in construction site thefts by brazen thieves who eye off equipment to steal and sell, or in this case, take for a dangerous ride. Police are still investigating and urge anyone with information to come forward. Rebecca Gadaneris, 7 Tasmania News.
As the government looks to make more progress on getting Macquarie Point Stadium off the ground, there are calls for Tasmanian producers to be a key part of the build. The opposition wants a section of the facility dedicated to locally made beers, non-alcoholic drinks and food to support local businesses.
To get that exposure, we couldn't get a dollar value on that via marketing. That's kind of something that would be a great asset to us.
I'm concerned that this is a government that will just go and look for the lowest price for them and not look at all the benefits.
The government says while its current focus is on meeting key milestones for the project, it is committed to having a strong local offering at the stadium. First though, the stadium needs to be built and the government needs to overcome public opposition. On the hunt for inspiration, Jeremy Rockcliffe will tour Adelaide Oval. Where we find Nick Kelly tonight. And Nick, what is the Premier hoping to learn there?
Well, the inspiration he's hunting for, Kim, isn't just for ideas for the stadium itself, of which there are many great ones to be found here, but also a way to try and sell the stadium to the state, where about half of Tasmanians aren't on board with the plans for Macquarie Point. Now, watching the debate rage in Tasmania has been South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas, who's been very vocal about the economic benefits that his state has seen since undertaking the major revamp of Adelaide Oval about a decade ago. Back then, there was enormous opposition from South Australians, but now we're told support is practically universal. It's brought concerts, sporting spectacles, created a tourism attraction and driven hundreds of millions of dollars of economic injection every single year, and also created a stable financial base for the clubs here that call it home. Now, much like South Australia back in the day, back home in Tasmania, it's a very similar picture. You might remember an EMRS poll from last month that showed that 59% of Tasmanians are against the plans for Macquarie Point Stadium, and I'm sure that part of Jeremy Rockcliffe's meeting tomorrow and his tour here at Adelaide Oval will be about gathering together some of those more positive outcomes that the state has seen so that he can bring them back home and sell the stadium to Tasmania. But back in 2012, Kim, the South Australians were promised that this redevelopment wouldn't cost a cent more than $410 million. It ended up costing $535 million, so perhaps a cautionary tale to be taken home as well.
It will be. Thanks very much, Nick. Well, as demand for social and affordable homes continues to outstrip supply across Tasmania, the government has unveiled an initiative to try and fast-track more builds. A home builder panel of 8 local construction companies has been set up who will bid for public housing projects instead of them going out to the statewide market.
The need's there, it's growing all the time. Whatever we can do to deliver homes quicker and better and more efficiently, that's only going to help.
Currently it can take about 3 months for us to work through a tendering process. That time frame will be slashed to a matter of days.
A second builder panel is also currently in the works, which will be established in the coming months. The Tasmania Fire Service wasn't taking any risks with today's warmer weather and dry conditions, suspending fire permits in the south of the state until early tomorrow morning. For 24 hours until 2 a.m, no new permits are being issued and any burn scheduled cannot go ahead. Authorities issuing a reminder, if you have lit a fire in the past week, make sure you check it has been fully extinguished. Park rangers on a remote Bass Strait Island are celebrating the remarkable reappearance of an echidna in the wild. Devastated by a bushfire more than 10 years ago, Long Tulanana Island, also known as Clark Island, has been showing signs of recovery thanks to a local rewilding project.
An image of hope. This echidna snapped by a trail camera on Bass Strait's remote Long Tulanana Island.
And yeah, we're just ecstatic really. It's such a good find.
The first seen in the area for decades.
We really thought there was only pretty much paddy melons and a few, birds and lizards.
A 2014 bushfire tearing through 98% of the island's 82 square kilometres. The blaze a devastating postscript to hundreds of years of trauma from farming and invasive species.
The feral cats are just devastating to anything they come across.
But also from a lack of cultural burning, practiced for tens of thousands of years before colonisation.
When you burn a landscape, you get succession of different species at different timescales, which is really great for that floristic diversity.
Pakana Rangers are now seeing the area making gradual progress thanks to a cultural restoration project.
They have an ambition to restore healthy country by removing feral cats and bringing back some really important, culturally significant species for them.
The team managing to contain a wildfire to just the island's northeastern part in February.
It could have been a lot worse, so we're quite lucky in that regard. There was a lot of effort in extinguishing it.
Now with more than 50 trail cameras installed around the island, there are hopes we'll soon see more images like these.
It does demonstrate that some of these cryptic species might be still on the island.
Fingers crossed that his family walks past next year.
Tom Crosby, 7 Tasmania News.
The latest cohort of student welfare workers is preparing to help meet rising demand for mental health support in Tasmanian schools. 10 new psychologists and speech pathologists taking up scholarships offered by the state government to attract graduates.
They play a crucial role in, impacting a child and young person's life in a whole range of areas.
I love seeing how much extra effort the rural schools put into supporting their students.
The program also aims to ease the workload on teaching staff by ensuring students are ready to engage with learning when they enter the classroom. In an Australian first, Tasmanian football umpires will be paid the same across male and female community matches. The incentive hoping to draw more women and girls to the role, boosting numbers ahead of the Premier League season.
From junior comps to the Premier League, it's no secret umpiring isn't for the faint-hearted.
I think the number one thing pretty much across the board is the abuse on game day.
And to make matters worse, traditionally umpires were paid almost half for reffing a women's footy game compared to a men's. Now, in a nation first, that's about to change.
Yeah, so in the past it was around about $110, for example, for a women's game, but now the pay parity in the Premier League is $190 for a men's and a women's game.
AFL Tasmania aiming to level the playing field, in turn increasing the quality of umpiring in the Women's League.
The ladies have said that they felt that sometimes that they needed to have some better umpiring quality of their games, so that's also going to form part of what we're doing and rotating umpires through the men's and women's games accordingly.
It brings benefits to the players but also to the umpires.
While pay parity is a kick in the right direction, there's still plenty of work to do to get more women to pick up a whistle. Only 12% of umpires across the state are women, with the league aiming to hit 50% by 2030.
Yeah, well, we've obviously seen a huge increase in women's football in the last few years, but that's been quite slow to translate into umpiring numbers.
Tasmania has been a football state for 100 years or more, so it's important that we're leading the charge on this.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
Well, one of the largest fields ever will head to Marrawar next month to hit the waves in the 50th West Coast Classic. More than 100 board riders from around the country are signed up to compete in Tassie's longest running and most prestigious surf event. In a boost for local talent, this year's junior event is offering more points for national junior rankings and Australian team selection. Well, Peter Murphy will join us after the break with the weather forecast.
Good evening. Hobart 29 today, but the airport reached 32 along with Flinders Island to top the list. Launceston 26, Devonport 23 and Burnie a top today of 22. Some temperatures up to 8 degrees above average. Campania 31, Fingal 30, St Helens, Friendly Beaches, Grove and Ouse 29, King Island and Strawn 24 today, Smithton 23, Lowhead and Lyawini 22. The thickening cloud did move over the state this afternoon from the northwest. Low Rocky Point recorded a top of around 14 millimetres to 4 p.m, Strawn 5 millimetres. Now that cloud is also over Victoria. Thunderstorms have been firing up over northern Victoria, central parts of the mainland and the tropics. Tomorrow the front slips out to the east as another sneaks in south of a high. That'll be over waters south of the Bight. The wind's still reaching 25 knots tomorrow and to 30 knots over the south with a 3.5 metre swell. Hobart a top of just 20, partly cloudy, 20 for Huonville, partly cloudy for Campania and 21. So the rain will move through overnight. Shower or two continuing for Launceston 20, 19 for Devonport, a shower for Georgetown 17 the maximum. 19 for Burnie and partly cloudy, Strawn 18, a top of 20 for Wynyard, while for St Helens tomorrow a high of 18 degrees with a possible shower. Cloudy for Swansea 19, 19 for Port Arthur. On Saturday a 50-50 chance of a shower in Hobart and the southeast, probable showers over Strawn, otherwise fine. A light shower over the east with fine partly cloudy weather for the rest of the state on Sunday. A fine day for most on Monday apart from another shower pencilled in for Strawn. Sunny and 31 in Perth tomorrow, cloud moving away from Adelaide. A morning shower in Melbourne, a shower or two also forecast for Sydney and Brisbane. Cloudy in Hobart, a little bit of light rain up north, 19 in Launceston, 18 right now in Devonport. And Kim, got to say, great job on you doing the sport this evening with Nick Kelly on his junket to Adelaide with the Premier. I'm sure we'll hear from him tomorrow night. Are we paying for all that?
And I want his pay. Thanks, Merv. That is all your news, sport and weather for now. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.
We're going to let the salmon industry run